Woo! What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's this episode of Birds Deep. I'm the Godfrey, and I got my man here, Mean Gene. Tell him what's up, Gene.
Mean! Woo! Gene.
Got a lot to talk about today. The season is getting ever so closer each week, and we have rumors, we have camps getting canceled because the food was bad. No, I'm joking. It wasn't bad, but all kinds of rumors swirling around why it happened, but I think they were just being cautious. Eagles running back situation, you name it, we're gonna go deep on it. Gene, did you I know you watched the preseason game. We'll get that out of the way because I know we talked about we weren't going to spend a lot of time on that because there wasn't really a lot to dive into. Did you see anything of note?
I mean, second stringers playing second stringers. I think in my personal opinion, I think the joint practices and the reports from those are a lot more formal, a lot more realistic. I think
Yeah,
so many people are so worried about things getting out there on tape, on TV, that they really just don't show a lot during those preseason games, and they do almost everything during the joint practices. So, if I'm being completely honest with you, I think that we learned nothing.
yeah, I agree 100%, and it's definitely morphed that way, more so each year, especially this year with the three. This is the first year they have three preseason games, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Second one. So they
Um,
did it last year too.
second one. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up because, I've been reading some articles on it there today, and it's always interesting to read an article from someone that isn't an Eagles reporter or an Eagles fan about their perspective. And sometimes I read stuff on Fansided. Have you ever read that site, Gene?
And what?
Fansided, small
No,
time,
I don't. I don't
small,
read that website.
small time. It's small time one, but it's always good to read. And it was talking about how the Philadelphia Eagles reporters came into Miami talking crazy, painting the narrative that the Miami Dolphins were good, but no match for Philly. Men lie, women lie, as they say. And basically, it was saying like they got a rude awakening in this practice. I mean, I wasn't hearing any good things about this practice. Um, you know, and I just kind of feel like, hey, man, Elliott Shore Park's talking about how they're 6-0 in joint practice so far. Look for the Eagles to go a perfect 8 at home of the last undefeated team. Like, wow, Elliott Shore Parks, man, he is quite a reacher, I would say, right? Is that a good description of him?
I can't stand him. I can't stand him. He gets way too much airplay on either one of my shows, and it's because I can't stand him so much. But I really
E-
just can't stand the guy.
ETP, Elliott Troll Parks is what I like to call him. But yeah, man. So they were basically talking about how Eagles reporters have been talking up the Eagles, and they got handled pretty harshly in this joint practice. What have you been hearing out there, Gene?
I
We were
mean,
talking about that
it's
pre-show.
a lot more than handled pretty nicely. I think that what and I hate harping on the same thing over and over and over again. I think that there's a lot of people that are optimistic about the Eagles season, and they're very optimistic about what they see from the front office and what Howie Roseman has done to put them in the best position to win. I think that's great, right? But there's two things I said that I have to see in order to really believe and buy into them this year. One of them is Jalen Hurts has to be able to anticipate a throw, has to be able to read a coverage and anticipate a throw. They're not blitzing during
Mhm.
these practices, right? But Jalen Hurts seems to uh, he makes to see it throw still. He's still not
Yeah.
getting the ball out
True.
to where it needs to be when it needs to be there. But that's not my only thing. My second thing was I need to see Jonathan Gannon show me any creativity on the practice field or in a game to show me that he's not going to play soft zone bullshit. And both those things have come to fruition in these Miami Dolphins practices. Do I care? No, I don't. Just like I didn't buy stock in Elliott Shore Park saying we're 6-0 in joint practices. I don't buy stock in them getting their ass beat by Miami in practice. Iron
There's no
sharpens
blitzing.
iron. Iron sharpens iron. So
Right.
hopefully they're getting good practice versus a good team. My thought process, I'll continue saying this, is I need to see them play regular season games. And I need to see
Yeah.
them not get diced up when they're in zone coverage. I need to see Jalen Hurts throw an out route before the receiver makes his break. I need to see these things for the Eagles to be as good as everyone claims they're going to be. I'm a diehard Eagles fan, man. My dad is buried in an Eagles, not buried. He's in an Eagles crematory urn. Like that's how much I love the Eagles. But I'm not going to put lipstick on a pig and tell you that this team's going to be 13-4 or 12-5. It's not
I
happening,
like bacon.
guys. It's not.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here's the thing too. When I watched that preseason game, things that I did notice, um, and it might have been that soft zone was the result of it, is the Browns they're a good running team, but they pretty much had their way with us running. We had our way with them as well, but it didn't seem like they were aggressively pursuing the run. I didn't see any. I don't feel like I saw run blitzes, things of that nature. Maybe it got past me, and there was a few in there, but it almost seemed like they were sitting back on their heels playing that soft zone that you're talking about, and I'm not a fan of that. Now, I know they don't wanna give anything up on tape, and everybody's scared of that, and I mean, I always find that interesting about putting stuff on tape because at a certain point, right, when you get into a season and you're 10 games in, it's will versus will, man versus man, a mano a mano. They know what's coming, you know what's coming, and who's gonna execute the play better, right? So, all
Correct.
this tomfoolery and trickery they're trying to save in the beginning of the season, I think it's a little overplayed. I think they should just, you know, get in rhythm and do what you do well. And I don't know, man. I'm just not a fan of this secretive preseason. It gets worse every year. Where they're like, oh, we're not really showing anything. When I look at the offense, okay, I feel like they're going to mimic the Ravens offense to an extent, not identical, but I don't think they're going to throw outside the hashes. I think you're gonna be trying. I don't see them doing things of that nature. They're gonna try to do short throws, run the ball, and,
That's not what the
it's just not all
Ravens offense is, though. They're a vertical
it's
passing
not.
team. Ravens
It
are
can be a
not a
ver but
short passing offense. I
to an
think you got a
extent, that's
better
why I
chance
said,
to mimic follow me. I think you have a better chance of mimicking what San Francisco's offense is gonna look like this year
"Hmm,
than you do of what the Ravens offense. I
but
think
do we
that
do motion it
Lamar Jack what would you say?
do we motion as effectively?" I don't know if we build that in as well as a Shanahan offense, though,
No, no. Yeah, like the poor man's San Fran. But
for sure.
it's Baltimore plays a vertical passing game. They constantly
Mhm,
throw the ball down the field
right.
because they have a quarterback that can zip the
They can.
ball on a dime.
Mhm,
The Eagles don't have that. Lamar Jackson is light years ahead of Jalen Hurts. If you don't
correct.
believe that, you're not watching. Like
Yeah, I agree
light years.
100% with that.
I don't think it's close.
I
I
th
really like if they were given Madden rank ratings, if it's not a 10-point swing between those two quarterbacks, you're doing Lamar Jackson a disservice.
Probably at least a 10-point thing. I would say Lamar's gotta be upper 90s and, like, Jalen's gotta be, like,
No, no,
83, 84.
that's not. He's not upper 90s. I don't even know
N
if he's a 90 in Madden
Lamar
right
didn't
now.
even crack 90?
No,
Wow.
probably not. Probably 89, 90, right around that area. But
Maybe they've
my
gotten more
point
stingy.
correct, but my point being is Jalen's gotta be in the 70s if Lamar's 90. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be that close.
87. 87
Lamar
for Lamar. Yep.
and
And
Jalen's
Hurts
gotta
is
be a
down at 22
77 though.
rating. Oh, he is a rating of 74.
Jalen Hurts?
7 yes.
This year?
74. That's what it says.
Okay.
Yep.
Respect. That's
Overall
what it should
rating,
be.
74. I think that's accurate. Back in the day, they used to be a little bit more liberal with the 99s for some of the players in the high 90s. I haven't really gotten to Madden that much, so I'm off on that. So Gene's right. They're 87 is right where Lamar's at, but it's the 13-point swing. So he said at least 10. Um, I don't think they're comparable. I'm just kind of I think they're going to try to hide his flaws, play to his strengths, which you want to do to an extent. But when I look at this offense, I feel like it's the type of offense where your defense has to come every game and they can't give up points. And soft two cover zone isn't going to be that defense because that will take your team out of their comfort zone, which is running the ball, and then they will have to pass and go vertical. to beat the clock as far as catching up. Once you get behind 2 scores, the defense can kind of predict what you're gonna do, especially if you're not a complicated offense, which I don't want to say this is.
Well,
It's not.
if you don't wanna do that, and if you wanna play like they played last year, I would respect that more. But the issue with playing like you did last year is, who the hell are you handing the ball to? Who's your bell cow? Who's your running back? Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, the Tin Man, Miles Sanders, who's always injured?
It's him, man.
I I just who? You need a bell cow
Yeah,
back if you're going to play the offense like they played last year. You have to have that.
I want to hear some Mike Zimmer type stuff out of the coaches. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you remember the clip about him. The reporter's like, Are you going to take a look at Kellen Mond?" And he's like, "No, I see him every day in practice." Meaning he's not going to, trump up what he's actually doing, right? Like, and I see like headlines like Nick Sirianni thinks Jalen Hurts had a great practice. I'm like, okay,
Well, what do you
he raved
expect him to
about
say?
Hurt. I know, but it's just come on. I mean, like it's at a certain point, it's painful. Like it's obvious. I mean, I know you want to be positive, but there's got to be some constructive criticism in there, doesn't there?
I hope there would be. I hope that there's constructive criticism. I just have a massive issue with everything that Jalen Hurts does right now. I just don't think he's the guy that we need him to be. Every national pundit that talks about the Eagles says the exact same thing. This team is going to go as far as Jalen Hurts brings them. He's just not the
Yeah.
guy. And listen, if he is the guy this year and he develops it, can he develop into a guy? Yes, 100% he can. I don't believe that he's past the point of development, but I
Yeah.
still haven't seen it yet. And guys, I got to listen, I don't want to predict it yet, but I'm telling you, man, I'm leaning towards the Lions week. And I hate
Now you
saying that because you start 0-1 versus the Lions, a very bad start. Most people have that chalked up as a win. I'm telling you, do not be surprised if you lose a 26-23 game at Detroit. Don't be surprised. Because if you watch Hard Knocks, that's the way I wish we were practicing. That's the way, with pads on. That's the
I'm
way I
glad you
wish
brought
we were
that
playing.
up because I was
The
going to
truth.
ask you, does your prediction have a little bit of a Hard Knocks bias in there? Because when Hard Knocks is great at filming and
Oh,
telling the story, but like,
I watch Hard Knocks every year.
mhm,
Every year. And I just want to be clear. I'm not like, I don't want to be rude when I say that. Read in between the bullshit Hard Knocks. Like, I understand how over teams have got because of
gotcha.
Hard Knocks. I get that. I'm not overhyping the Lions. I love coaching staff. I love what they done on their coaching staff. I think that Deuce Staley, it adds so much to that team. And I think, if I'm being honest, man, Hank Fraley and Deuce Staley, ex Eagles, are on that coaching staff. If you don't think that they're doing everything they can to get them ready, that's their Super Bowl week one. Dan Campbell, Deuce Staley, Hank Fraley. I, I
Especially,
just I
especially
just
Deuce.
believe I love what they're doing.
How about when Deuce was yelling at the running backs, but he lost his voice? It was hilarious
It's
because
great.
he's like, this is bullshit." And I think it's great, and
They
I
had a
see the
bad
way
day
he's
of
coaching
practice and
DeAndre Swift, and it's
they had a
pretty.
bad
I
day of
think.
practice, and guess what?
Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
No, no, you got.
You're speaking over me. They had a bad day of practice, and you hear Deuce Staley's response to it, and it's very evident. Like, this is bullshit. They came out there the second day of joint practices, and they won the practice. They looked better than the Colts in practice. They smacked them in the mouth at day two of joint practice. But it's practice. We shouldn't take that much stock in practice until they get out there and play the
Mhm.
game. It doesn't matter. Nobody's running design blitzes. Nobody's trying to trick anyone.
Right, right.
It's just vanilla on vanilla.
So, speaking of vanilla, let's talk about our running back group.
Okay.
Shane Steichen isn't concerned about the Eagles' running back group. He says the offensive coordinator spoke to the reporters, about Hurts, Jurgens, and all those guys, and he's confident in the running back room, as he says.
What do you
We're not
expect him to say?
surprised. I don't expect him to say anything, but how can you be confident in that group? I mean, you gotta have question marks there. It's obvious. I mean, even the average fan sees that, right? I mean, you
Yeah, but
ho
you
let's
can't
look at
as a
the
coach, you can't go into a press conference and say that. Like, as a coach, you can't walk into
right.
a press conference and say, "I really have issues with what we have in our you can't do that. Until you get someone, bro, trust me, behind the scenes, Howie Roseman is looking for a running back to pick up off the wire, looking for someone to get cut, looking for a good deal on Kareem Hunt, looking to trade Jalen Rager for somebody. Bro, I promise you, all the Jalen Rager reports that are coming out are all to hype him up to be able to trade him for a running back. And I think
Yeah, no one's
actually, I'm
beating
gonna
the
give
drum
you
to
a
get
guy.
them
I'm
on
gonna
their
give you a
team.
guy they should look at. I'm gonna give you a guy they should look at. Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny should be the guy they should be looking at. Rashad Penny over in Seattle. They just drafted a running back, Kenneth Walker. He's supposed to be their bell cow. He's not right now. He's got the veteran Rashad Penny ahead of him. If I'm the Eagles, man, I try to get Rashad Penny. They're right now, the Seattle Seahawks have JJ Arthega-Whiteside lined up as their wide receiver 3 or 4. Why would they not want Jalen Rager?
That's rough. So, here's
Seriously.
a quote from us. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Here's a quote from Steichen. All these 3 guys bring something unique. They do something really well, they see it well, they hit well, and they can catch the ball in the backfield. Feel really good about the group in general. So, I expect him to say Miles Sanders is still the number 1. He goes, he scoffed at the idea that they need a prototypical power back, citing Scott and Gamewell as having the stature to find little creases and Sanders having the speed to power that can hit the holes. The offensive coordinator mentioned Jalen Hurts kind of a fill-in role of a power back. But, you know, when you watch Hard Knocks, right, Gene, I have a new respect for Jamal Williams. A guy like that, not a superstar, but a solid back. He can catch, he could run, he's physical. That's some they don't need a superstar. They need someone like that to solidify the backfield. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you are. Also, the one thing that Jamal Williams brings that Lions team is a lot of leadership. Like, he knows his role. He knows he's
Yep.
the backup running back. He knows he's there for grit. He knows he's there for leadership, and he makes it very tough for them to cut him because he's a leader on that team. Like, DeAndre Swift's their guy, but you don't hear him talk much in any of the 3 episodes. You're hearing a lot more from Jamal Williams, from Rio, because you're hearing that because he's their emotional leader on that team. He's gonna be on that sideline
Mhm.
pressing them, pushing them to get better and better. So, I respect him. I would love a guy like that. A guy like AJ Dillon,
Me
a
too.
guy like Rashad Penny, a guy like there's a lot of guys out there. I would take Kenyon Drake, and Kenyon Drake would fit perfect into the running back room. He can't be your bell cow, but he could be a guy that gives you plenty. You know what I mean? He can give you a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, I know these Eagles coaches are gonna be, positive about their players, and I get that, and that's the new thing. You know, the 90s and early 2000s type of coaches are gone. That's more that exists in college, I guess, at this point, not in the pros. So,
Well, millennials
all
grew up,
right.
bro. That's the
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, it's true.
I hate
I mean,
saying
yeah,
it,
you're
but like we're in the participation trophy era
mhm. I
where
mean, we're
Elliott Shore
millennials,
Parks is grading practices, bro. Yeah, but my dad
yeah.
wasn't a millennial. My dad was a Gen X guy. My dad beat the shit out
Mhm.
of me if I acted like a baby.
Me too.
You want to call it like it is? My dad whooped my ass with a belt. If I made excuses after losing the game, I get my ass beat. Sorry,
Mhm.
is what it is. It's a different generation. No excuses.
Yeah. So, do you think the Hunt talk is BS chatter, um, blog fodder, or do you think it has some wheels?
I mean, of course it has wheels. Howie Roseman was talking to him on the sideline. He's been talking to the Browns organization. If the Browns see this is all right, so let me tell you how this could come to fruition. The Browns salary cap situation is shaky. Not great. They spent a lot of money on getting Deshaun Watson. Most of that didn't hit the books except a signing bonus. If they go out and they don't believe in Jacoby Brissett and they want to get Jimmy Garoppolo play 11 games, an audition for them, they have to absorb $16 million in cap. They do that and they don't feel like they're going to re-sign Kareem Hunt, then they're going to be able to have to move Kareem Hunt's cap space. Howie Roseman understands that and knows that. He's not going to give a third, a fourth, a fifth rounder for a Kareem Hunt. It just doesn't make sense. So
Doesn't.
I could
Yep.
see Kareem Hunt getting cut. I say what you want, but if you're not going to get anything for him and you need that cap space, bring in a veteran quarterback to back up Jacoby Brissett, because Josh Rosen looked absolutely dreadful for the Browns. So if anything happens to Jacoby Brissett, first of all, I don't think Jacoby Brissett's a good enough quarterback to win you enough games. I think they go 5-6 at best in the games that Deshaun Watson doesn't play. But if you're a
Mhm.
team built to win now, you can get Jimmy Garoppolo in there. I would move on from Kareem Hunt. And if your Eagles, you swoop in there, you grab him for a 5th or 6th round draft pick. That's it. You have Kareem Hunt, and you're probably not going to re-sign him. He's probably a 1-year rental for a 5th rounder. But that's what you
Now
would have to
he's
do
looking for
when you
money.
have Shaky Sanders.
Yeah, Shaky
What'd
Sanders.
you say?
Um, he's looking for money. The Hunt's looking for more money. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that
but he's not
puts
going to
a
get it.
stopgap in it. I know that,
He's
but
not going to get it from the Eagles.
mhm. Well, he's trying to make up for that money he missed out on because he blew that Chiefs opportunity. So,
Don't kick a
that's
girl
not
on the
gonna happen.
ground. Don't
Yep.
open your door and kick a groupie in a hotel. Sorry, Kareem. That's your damn fault.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you on that one. So,
I also
yeah,
love Philadelphia fans as a whole, bro. I'm gonna make something very clear. You cannot sit here and judge Deshaun Watson for his sexual assault cases and not judge Kareem Hunt for kicking a woman on the ground. You want to be about vindication or not? You want to be about second chances or not? Like so, at the end of the day, I think both of them are shitty human beings. If I'm being honest,
when does it
anybody
cancel
that
you? Yeah. Yep.
like we can't
I'm
shit
with
on
you
Greg
on.
Hardy and then take Kareem Hunt and be like, okay, let's get Kareem Hunt. We can't do that. You can't do things like that. You're either an organization about class or you're not.
I agree. I agree 100%. You can't have a double standard, right? I mean, I was screaming that about Pete Rose, and that's a whole different topic and everything. But you know, I would hear people rip Deshaun Watson, and I'm not saying your opinion shouldn't be against what he did, and in the same breath say, Pete Rose just come back to the Phillies. It's time to put him in the Hall of Fame, right? And I'm pointing towards Phillies fans when I say that because that's a prime example of what you're talking about. You know, it's a double standard, right? And in football,
Well, I mean,
if you got
you
talent,
got
you
to
got to
ask
get back
yourself
on
a
the field.
question. You got to ask yourself a question when it comes to double standards, right? The first question would be, do you believe that the Hall of Fame should be based off of what your accolades are as a player or as your entire character? Because let me give you an example, right? We're talking about Ty Cobb the other day. Ty Cobb might have been one of the
Mhm.
biggest pieces of shit of a human being ever.
True story.
But statistically, he's a top 5 baseball player of all time. Some people have him as ranked as a better hitter than Ted Williams. And you know, by the numbers, by the math, 100% Hall of Famer. But like, where do you draw the line? He was a shitty human being. You can bring up loads and loads of shit that he's done that's been
Mhm.
embarrassing, right?
Mhm.
Pete Rose bet on baseball. That's a crime that's punishable for a ban of eternity. I support that, man. 15 years ago, you'd ask me that same question. I'm like, let Pete Rose in. And then I learned, I grew up as an adult, understand that your situations, the things that you do have consequences. You know how much money Pete Rose has made off the game of baseball the last 15, 20 years? Because people constantly have him on around the Hall of Fame time, podcasts and shows, talking to him, asking him questions. The guy's a delusional asshole. Just is.
Yep.
I would be very happy for Pete Rose to never hear his name again. I'm being
Yeah. And
honest.
listen, it's the quintessential example, and I think you bring up a good point about the Hall of Fame. I think accolades should hit, but I think there's a baseline of where the shittiness is. I think if Ty Cobb was alive today, it'd be a lot. He snuck in, I think, because it was like the '70s when he got in, or something like that, right? Nowadays, that would be revealed. And you know, my thing with Pete, it was the betting on baseball, and it was the underage girl. And the thing about that is, if you make a mistake and you own up to it, that's one thing. But if you make a mistake and you wanna keep lying and lying and people give you a chance and then you spit on that chance, that's Pete Rose. First in hits, last in class, and that's why I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. and it's not because of his accolades. His accolades are deserving, but I think he pissed on the game that made him who he is, and that's my problem with him. I mean, a lot of old timers would disagree with me, but listen, man, you know, where I think the line shouldn't be drawn is I think Barry Bonds should have a shot to get in if David Ortiz can get in, and I think that's where people have a double standard. They like Big Papi, and they got him in, and they eviscerated the guy that exposed Big Papi failing that drug test. But since Barry Bonds is a jerk, you're not going to let him in. And Baseball Hall of Fame is probably the worst example of hypocrisy these days. But I do agree for most should be accolades,
100%, but
but there
we're
is a
talking about
baseline.
players' character. 100%, we're
Yeah,
talking about players' character. And I think the thing that needs to consistently be mentioned is, and then we're not talking about just baseball, we're talking about football and any sport. Someone
T.O.
has
is a good
poor
example.
character. Well, T.O. is a good example, but T.O. should be in the Hall of Fame. T.O. didn't get in any trouble outside the field. The only thing
No, I
T.O.
agree. That's
people
where
can
I'm
say
going with
about
that.
T.O. is the only thing people can say about T.O. is that he was a selfish player. But
Right.
if you're talking about selfish players, uh, T.O. came up in the wrong era for a selfish player. Let me give you a comparison to T.O., right? Walter Payton. And people might give me a lot of crap for that, but Walter Payton was a selfish piece of shit. All you have to do is watch the 30 for 30 on the 85 Bears, and you'll know how selfish Walter Payton was. But wasn't social media era, wasn't cameras in his face all the time. And just back then, things were totally different than what they are now. And,
Yep.
we're getting a little bit off topic, but like, I don't want Kareem Hunt. I don't want Sean Watson. Give me a guy like Rashad
Yeah.
Penny. Kept his nose clean, done nothing wrong, sat in a backup role behind Chris Carson, had a couple injuries, walking into the prime of his career. You can get him for cheap,
Yeah. I'd rather have Penny.
and he'll be a very good running back for you.
I'd rather have Penny, and I agree with you. And a lot of people didn't know what was going on with the Deshaun Watson stuff, but we're allowed to change our minds like humans. And now that we do, we wouldn't want a guy like that on the team, right? I don't want, and a Kareem Hunt is. I agree too. You know, I'm with you on that, Gene. I'd rather have a Rashard Penny, and I don't want a guy that brings that kind of negativity in the locker room. Maybe he's changed, maybe he hasn't, but I've heard about him almost getting in trouble again after the Browns gave him a chance. And the other example of someone turning the leaf is Michael Vick. He did his time. He asked for his apologies, and he turned over a new
He was
leaf, right?
suspended a
And it
full
was
year of football after he went to
yep,
jail. He
yep,
was.
yeah. He did his, and I'm
And
a big dog guy, but I forgive him. I forgive him.
100%, I forgive him also. And here's the biggest problem with Michael Vick, and something a lot of people don't understand, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Michael Vick was not arrested, but did not go to jail for dogfighting. Michael Vick went to jail for racketeering because the government couldn't get money off of him gambling on dogfighting. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke. But listen, he did his time. He admitted his guilt. He was suspended. He came back. He volunteered to help all dogs in different shelters and different situations. That's someone I'm willing to give a second chance to. Someone like Deshaun Watson, where the owner comes out and goes, "Well, he's sorry for what he did," and then Deshaun Watson gets up there and claims his innocence still. Screw that man. Screw that man. Dude, Kareem Hunt, if I'm Kareem Hunt, I play out the contract for the team that gave me an opportunity, like the Cleveland Browns. They gave him an opportunity to play football after he kicked a woman in a hotel room or outside a hotel room. Cleveland gave him an opportunity, gave him a second chance, let him play behind Nick Chubb, and now he's going to get a contract next year. I shut my mouth and I play for Cleveland. I'm not trying to hold out for money. They
Yep.
gave me my second chance. That's talk about biting the hand that feeds you. I don't want someone like that on my team. I don't.
No, it's a me first attitude, and I agree 100% with you. 100%. Um,
Can we talk about the 10 man?
sure.
Miles Sanders can't be this. He cannot be this team's number one running back. He cannot be this team's bell cow running back. He can't. And when you're looking at like, all right, so like, let me just take a step back. Kenyon Drake is still a free agent. Okay. Would you rather walk into a season with Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake, Boston Scott, would you rather walk into a season with Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kennedy Brooks? And Kenneth Gainwell, sorry. Forgot Gainwell. But my point being is, wouldn't you not want to walk into a season with a running back room of Sanders, Drake, Gainwell, and Scott over Kennedy? Put Kennedy Brooks on the friggin' practice squad. See what he has next year. See what he can do, he can
Yeah,
develop. He's not an NFL running back right now. He just isn't.
yeah. And the other thing too is, um, with the Eagles having a good offensive line, you don't need to bring a superstar running back in. You could bring a guy that is serviceable that could run behind that offensive line. He just has the physical skill still. He doesn't have to be, you know, the number one running back. There's a good mix in there. And I would welcome a guy like a Kenyon Drake. I mean, it's not going to cost you a lot to check it out, right? And it's worth it. I mean,
No.
Miles Sanders was like, I was talking about. You remember when we did the draft? I was like, let's get a running back because I just had this feeling that Miles Sanders was going to come up short again. And getting injured isn't his fault, but he just doesn't seem to be ever in the position to take advantage of a wide open running back position. Never, never, never,
Played
never.
8 plays. He played 8 plays in the preseason, and now he's been sitting out training camp since. So, 8 plays.
Listen,
He got 8 plays, and now he's hurt. He's been sitting out since. Do you think
Alshon
that guy's gonna
Jeffrey,
walk into week 1 and be our guy?
no, no. Alshon Jeffrey was known for being injured a lot before he got to the Eagles. Okay. Now, I know his career didn't end sparkling in a sparkling way as an Eagle. However, he knew he was on a contract here. Coming off an 8-game suspension for PEDs, he played through that broken collarbone and they won a Super Bowl because he wanted to get paid. It was a contract year. And I don't see that same fortitude from Miles Sanders. Now, I don't know if they're, you know, taking a soft approach with him because they don't want him to be hurt. But I mean, even the Jets game last year, it was a team that you could run it. Anybody could run it. My grandma could run against the Jets last year. And she wouldn't have hurt her ankle. That's all I'm gonna say. He hurt his ankle and somehow he got hurt. And the thing is it's not a knock on him. It's not his fault that he got injured. He just doesn't have the durability to be an every down back. And that's why I told Eagles fans, no, he's not a top 10 running back. You're out of your mind. You're being a homer because he does not have. There's a reason why he was behind Saquon in college. There's a reason. Saquon was more talented and he was a change of pace back. I mean, you're more of a Penn State fan to me, but so do you remember that day, those days?
I mean, Saquon was one of the best college running backs
Right.
I
I
ever seen
mean,
in my life. I don't think that's a fair comparison. Well, if you wanna play
well, they're
Miles
not the
Sanders
same,
or
but
we can do that real quick. Like, real quick, we can
sure.
go through
Let's
the
let's do
entire
Miles Sanders
NFL
or
really fast. All right, ready?
I love
Watch.
this.
Miles Sanders or Ezekiel Elliott?
Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke.
Saquon.
Saquon.
Saquon. Now I'll give him
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson. He's better than him. That's 1. But keep track. You got 1. So let's go to the NFC North. I'll take Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, DeAndre Swift, and David Montgomery. I'll take the entire division over him. You disagree?
What about Jamal Williams? We take Jamal Williams over him?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Close. It's
But I would take
close.
5 running backs in that division over him.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go to the NFC
Um,
South. Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, and who am I missing? Atlanta. So I'll give him over Cordero Patterson. That's 2. 2 running backs in the NFL. I'd start him over. Let's go to the NFC West. I want you to stop me if I'm wrong. NFC West. Are you taking him over Cam Akers?
that's a tough one. I think Cam Akers has a lot of talent. I'm just not so sure if he's the same after that Achilles injury. So I'm gonna pretend like he has healed from that, and if he is healthy, yes, Cam Akers. Yes.
James Conner,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Elijah
taking
Mitchell,
James. Yes.
okay? Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker.
Yes. Um, he's new, so I'm just gonna go yes. I'm gonna see. Yeah, I'm going
We're
Kenneth
still
Walker.
2 running backs. We're taking Miles Sanders over. 2,
Mhm.
Devin Singletary. 3,
Okay.
Chase
I'm taking
Edmonds,
James
I'd
Cook
say
over
that's
him.
4. I'm not
Yeah.
right now. I think that's you're overhyping him. I watched him play in Georgia.
Well,
He's not amazing.
no, he's not. But yeah, I would take the flyer on him. Damian Pierce.
So
What
I
about
would
him?
take him. Who?
Damian Pierce,
Who?
AFC South
Uh,
from the
I'm
Texans.
taking Miles Sanders right now.
Okay.
I'll take Miles
Javante
Sanders
Williams.
over. No, Javante Williams. That's not close.
Right. Not even close. I agree.
Josh
Um,
Jacobs.
it's a tough one. I'll go. You know, I feel like Josh Jacobs has a chip on his shoulder to prove some people wrong. Not saying he will, but I think I would take Josh Jacobs by a little bit over Miles Sanders.
I'll take Miles. Um, and then you can kind of go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You got
Miles.
Austin Eckler. Clearly take Eckler over.
Yeah.
And then you go Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb,
Yeah.
and Joe Mixon. He's a bottom
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
running back in the league.
Yep.
Is what
And
he is.
what's crazy about that is this position is wide open for someone to take as the running back, and he's not. He's had every opportunity to do this, and he just can't get it done. And maybe he's just one of those guys that he's never going to stay healthy. You know, he is a bigger version maybe of Matt Breida, right? Matt Breida's fast, but he gets hurt all the time.
Raheem
And so does
Mostert.
Miles Sanders and Raheem Mostert, yeah. And but at least Raheem Mostert put together a good season, a whole good season. And Miles Sanders had an okay one that year, but I don't know, man. We've been saying this for our second season now doing this show, and I just don't see why they're not doing anything. You can't go in there if he's still not practicing. You can't go into the season with this running back line. You got to pick someone up. You got to add some depth somewhere, something. And I don't know. It's surprising. I know the cuts are coming because there's only 3 preseason games. People are going to have to go down to a 53-man roster. So maybe you catch someone off of there. So I know it's like they're waiting to make a move if they do. It's not necessarily something they have to do right now. But at the same time, man, I just hope that they don't go into there being like, we really like our guys. We like our running back room, like I'm hearing the coaches say. And I hope they don't really believe that and they're not drinking their own brand. You know what I mean?
Um, Listen, and I'm going to repeat this, and I'll repeat this, and I'll repeat this. There's no way the Eagles walk into this season with this running back room. No way. I'm as sure that they will pick somebody up to add depth into that running back room. I'm sure of it. Godfrey, trust me. There's no way that he's done all this in the offseason to create such a good roster, and he walks into the season with this running back. No way, no way, no way, no way. I think that they wait for the Jimmy Garoppolo. He's going to get cut by the 30th, or he's going to get traded by the 30th. I think you'll know a lot more in 5 days. Next time we do this show, you'll know more.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's just, hey, this is I guess the fun of the preseason, if you will. But
This kid's gonna be somebody
Eagles
better
have,
than
that wasn't me, I swear to God.
No, I want to play
Eagles
that video. I sent that video to Mike because I want to play it because I think it'll it's a next topic for our next topic. We're talking about AJ Brown and what they've done.
Okay.
So I want to play that.
Maestro? Bueller?
this kid's gonna be
This is
somebody better than anybody ever knew.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
This kid's gonna be somebody better.
only
than
8
anybody.
seconds, but the reason I wanted to show that and that's
Mhm.
from AJ Brown's verified account. So AJ Brown had no problem putting that together. We're talking about the Eagles Miami Dolphins practice, right? And when they had to join practice, a lot of people showed the Tyreek Hill burning Darius Slay. Now, footstep thing happened, and Darius Slay came up a little bit limp on the play. I think in a game situation, Darius might lay out for the ball as opposed to, foot battling. But AJ Brown was pissed off at Miami beat writers saying that the Eagles, he's like, now show us roasting their secondary. And that video got out, and another video got out where he cut him out on the inside. AJ Brown put that video on his Twitter. I'm telling you right now, man, that kid is special. And I'm hoping, I'm praying that our quarterback can get him the football. Situations like that.
Well, I think part of the reason they traded for an AJ Brown, a part of it is big wingspan, and he's got a good catch radius, so he can help make up for an error on an inaccurate throw. Would you agree with that?
100%. He can battle for the ball.
Right. So you got to get when a guy's not putting the ball on the money like a Drew Brees, because Drew Brees was super accurate. You need a guy like AJ Brown. That's why I'm excited for the Eagles to trade for him, because he can do that, and he can take a 5-yard slant pass or his 5-yard slant across the middle to the house. He is one of those guys. He will break a tackle. He will pluck a ball out of the air, and I am excited to watch him play. And I do.
No, he is
think AJ
massive,
Brown
bro.
could.
You've seen him at practice.
Yeah.
How big is that man? I'm serious. Like, I feel like his height and weight do him no justice. He is massive,
I know, it's
bro.
crazy.
That guy looks like
I
DK
feel like he's
Metcalf.
bigger than that. Mm-hmm.
Bigger than
I feel
DK
like he's
Metcalf?
bigger than that. No. The his height
What?
and weight, what you mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Like what
I
it's
agree with
listed
you.
at. I'm like, huh? I swore he was 6'4". That's the way I look at it.
Bro, he's massive. He's strong. He's built. He's athletic. Like, I love everything about him. He's said and done all the right things here in Philadelphia. Everything. And you notice that he started with the Rocky quote. I think that really matters in that video. Like, I'm not like, this kid's gonna be great. This kid's gonna be better than anything you've ever seen. Like, that's what he started with, that Rocky quote, talking about when Rocky was talking about his son. I love that. I love that he added that to the video. But that's his verified page. I thought that was
You
really
think
cool.
you think he was like, "Hey, Bryce, how did you welcome yourself in Philadelphia? Got a few tips for me?" He was like, "Yeah, Rocky."
Bro, but that's the thing
Yeah.
about Philadelphia, man. Guys like Joel Embiid, guys like Bryce Harper, guys like AJ Brown, guys like Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham.
Mm.
Those are Utley. Those are Philadelphia players. There's a lot of players that play here that aren't Philadelphia players. Like, let me give you an example. Jimmy Rollins. Jimmy Rollins was an absolute stud. He wasn't a Philly guy. He argued and fought with the fans. Just wasn't. Guy like AJ Brown, guy like Bryce Harper, they're Philly guys. Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Brian Dawkins. They let you know they're Philly guys. Those
You know,
guys,
as the future,
we will die. We will go to war for.
future Philly guy, Cam Jurgens. Think so?
I don't disagree with that. I think he's getting a little overhyped with this. I love him. I love him. I do. But I think a couple of those pancake blocks that made ESPN with him getting downfield looking like Jason Kelsey, getting a little overhyped. But man, yeah, I like him. I think the future of our offensive line is so strong. Listen, next thing you gotta worry about is replacing Lane, because you got Jordan Mailata, who's gonna be your left tackle for the next 7 years. You got Landon Dickerson, should be your left guard for the next 5 to 6 years. You got Cam Jurgens, who's gonna be your center after Jason Kelsey retires. The right side of that line, Isaac Seumalo and Lane Johnson. No. But the Eagles' offensive line depth makes me excited. Someone goes down, right? You go down left tackle this year. Jordan Mailata gets injured. You got Andre Dillard, who's been playing his ass off this game. Left guard goes down. Center goes down. You got Cam Jurgens. You have depth on that line. And it's you have 7 offensive linemen that could start on almost any team in the league, which is very, very strong.
Very strong.
That's the position I'm least worried about. Offensive line and defensive line. I think the Eagles are going to win a lot of games in the trenches this year. I don't think you're going to be able to run the ball on them. I don't think you're going to be able to get to the quarterback. And I think the Eagles are going to be able to run the football against you. I think that when your big guys are tougher than their big guys, that's amazing. Great thing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And the thing about the Eagles that worries me the most coaching wise, I wanted to bring this up because you were bringing up Miami and the practice, is Jonathan Gannon. And
100%. 100%.
yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more, Godfrey. I could not agree with you more. Yeah, I'll stop.
and
I'll
no,
hear
no,
you out
no,
because I have stuff on that too.
yeah, and this is why. So I like that they went heavy defense in a lot of areas because we need to take the excuse away that he didn't have the players. And the problem I have with it is when you read the joint practice report, they said Tua was carving them up without his main receivers on the field for most of the time, which means there was no Gesicki, and I forget the other receiver that was in there. Maybe it was Jalen
Jalen Waddle.
Waddle wasn't playing. Yeah, so those guys aren't on the field, and you're still getting carved up by Tua, who isn't known for carving people up. And I'm having shade in my mind when I'm reading this. I'm envisioning Derek Carr again, and that can't happen if you upgraded your defense and it's the scheme then. It's the fucking scheme. Like, it's not the players. There's no excuse for personnel this year. None. Zero zilch. And
You
I
know
don't want to
what?
hear
You know what stands out most to me, Godfrey, about that defense? Where are they
what would
weak?
that be? Were
Where
they
are they
weak?
weak?
Say safety. Safety?
That's it. That's it. That's it. Their
Mhm.
defensive line isn't weak. It's top 5 in the NFL. It is. I can name you. You tell me a better defensive line that's going to throw out not Montez Sweat. Jesus, I love Montez Sweat. Josh Sweat,
I would too.
Fletcher Cox, Devon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis, Derek Barnett is your 6th defensive lineman.
He's
You
still on the
name
team?
me.
Wow.
You name me a defensive line that's going to throw out more than that. Just not. The depth
It's a
is
killer
there.
rotation.
Let's take let's take it a step further. TJ Edwards. Not
Son Reddick.
he's Son Reddick. Uh Kasir White. N'Kobe Dean. That's depth at the linebacker position. And you
Haven't
throw
had that for
out
years.
Darius Slay. What?
We haven't had that depth at linebacker for years.
And you throw out Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox. Name a better 1, 2, 3 in the NFL. It's not.
Agree.
It's scheme. Defense is majority scheme. And I know you're not a big college guy, but I want to give you an example of what I mean. 2 examples, okay? Last year, Oklahoma State had one of the best defenses in the nation statistically in the Big 12, which is a wide open conference, a bunch of skill position players. Oklahoma State was incredible defensively, and they had no 5-star kids on their defense. They had hardly any kids get drafted on their defensive side of the ball. But they had a hell of a defensive coordinator. That defensive coordinator just went to Ohio State this year. I want you to think 2022, 2023. Last year, Ohio State's biggest problem was their defense. They're getting shredded defensively. Even in the Rose Bowl, they beat Utah, what was like 55-31. They still allowed 31 points. I want you to understand Rex Ryan took over one of the worst defenses in football when he took over the Jets in 2006. I believe it was 06. 2008, they were one of the best defenses in football. Scheme matters. Attacking the football matters. Playing soft zone bullshit shell defense is going to get you carved up by good quarterbacks over and over again. The
And if you
defense that
play that kind
Jonathan
of
Gannon plays, bend don't break. Soft zone.
right. Mhm.
Can't take
If you
it.
play that kind of
Can't take it.
defense, if you play that kind of defense, personnel-wise, you're supposed to have good safeties. Am I correct? That if you
Um,
play that scheme successfully.
I don't look at it that way. I don't think bend or don't break is a successful defense ever in the NFL. But
No,
let me
I
take it
agree.
a little bit. Let me take it a step further. You know what the Eagles are missing on defense, in my opinion? Malcolm Jenkins. I'm not saying Malcolm
Mhm.
Jenkins now is retired. I'm saying a guy that will walk up to the defensive coordinator and be like, this isn't working. Our guys are better in this personnel and getting that
Mm,
switch in the middle of the season. They did that in 2019. If you remember, in 2019, Malcolm Jenkins went in the defense coordinator's office. Like, we got to simplify this. This shit is not working. And Jim Schwartz played
mhm.
cover zero man all the time. They were blitzing, they were playing man coverage on the outside. This team has the personnel to do that. They have the personnel to play man to man with Slay, Bradbury, and Avonte Maddox. And blitz and blitz and blitz. How do you think they won the 2017 Super Bowl? How? When they played Minnesota, they got after the quarterback and picked six off Kirk Cousins to get their first touchdown. 38-7 wasn't a mistake. That Vikings
Mhm.
offense was putting points up. They scored on us 7-0 like it was nothing.
That was my man
They got
Case
pressure on
Keenum.
the
Put some
quarterback.
respect on his name.
Or Case Keenum. I apologize.
He
Pressure bust pipes,
not
bro. Pressure bust
yeah.
pipes.
Well, that's the thing about their defensive scheme that bothers me as well. It doesn't so if you have a team that is gonna be a run first team, you wanna have a defense that creates turnovers. I mean, you always want that, but especially in that. I want you to think about the Carolina Panthers the year they had the Super Bowl run and played the Broncos. They had a very
Oh yeah.
opportunistic defense, okay?
Yep.
They would get turnovers and make a short field for a Cam Newton, right? And that was the reason they went to the Super Bowl that year. Uh, Now, if you're gonna have a run first offense, you need to have a shorter field, right? You need to create turnovers because you're going to win that game if you do that with a run first offense. But if you have a bend don't break defense and you have a run first offense, it's like oil and water. It doesn't mix. Schematically, it makes no sense to me.
All right, so let me add on to your point to you, Godfrey. Let me ask you a question real quick. What is the first thing an offense wants to do after turning the football?
Score.
First thing they want to do, they want to get back on the field. They want to get back
Yeah.
out there, have another opportunity. So the worst thing you can do when you turn the football over is incomplete pass, incomplete pass, incomplete pass, punt back to the other team. It's the worst thing you could do.
Yep.
So if you're going to run the football, it's so frustrating for an offense. I played football at a very, very low level. But if we turn the football over, we want to get back on that field immediately. Come on, defense, get us the ball back. Let us shine.
Mm.
What happens to an offense when you run the ball and that offense is waiting on the sideline, stewing on that interception, and you see them run the ball and take time off the clock? Guys, you don't remember why the 2017 Eagles were so good? I'll remind you. Go watch Philadelphia at LA Chargers in 2017, and you don't have to watch the whole game. Just turn it on with 9 minutes left and watch the drive the Philadelphia Eagles went on with LeGarrette Blount running the ball. 6 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards. They iced the game. They iced the game, running the ball, handing the ball off.
Yep.
I don't care this new level NFL where you got to throw the ball, air it out. We don't have the personnel for that. We have a guy that can get it, two guys that can get open for you to get first downs, and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. We got a burner in Quez Watkins that makes defenses put a safety over top 100% of the time. Like you're going to see single high versus the Eagles all year. I promise you, you will see single high safety defense versus the Eagles all year. Understand why and what that personnel is trying to do. You can't put 8 men in the box when you have burners like Quez Watkins on the field. Because if I'm the Eagles, I have Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, or Quez Watkins one-on-one in press coverage, I check to that and I throw a deep ball every time. Because they're not 50-50 balls at that point. They're 70-30 balls.
Right.
Defense is going to come up with 70% of those. Just telling
So,
you.
do you think, speaking of Devontae Smith, that the chatter's been quiet about him in a lot of corners. Do you think people are sleeping on the Slim Reaper the second year?
It's not sleeping on him, man. It's just like Devontae Smith went to the worst situation he possibly could go to as a NFL wide receiver. You're talking about a guy that won a Heisman Trophy, that's open, that's got hands like glue. that's looking like he's way worse than Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase, and that's not the case.
He made hay of
It's
it
not the
though.
case. He's just as good. He's not getting the ball. He doesn't have a quarterback that can give him the ball in space. Listen, you can say what you want about Tua, but what they did with Jalen Waddle last year was they got on the ball in drags. They got on the ball in space. They got on the ball in short crossing routes. They got on the ball in space.
Right.
You can say what you want about Tua,
100%.
but he'll make an accurate 7-yard pass. He will.
Right.
He's not going to beat you over the top, but he'll get his receiver the ball in space accurately. It's not happening in
100%.
Philadelphia. It's not.
And
I got a
Devontae
counterfeit
Smith,
green, by the way, this week. I don't know if you do, but I
okay,
have one.
let's hear it. But let me say this about
Okay.
Devontae Smith real quick. He was in a bad, but he made hay of a bad situation and broke the Eagles' rookie receiving record, right? Like,
It
and I
wasn't
like
really.
guys like that.
I get it,
It
but
was,
breaking the Eagles rookie receiving record. What do you have? 700 yards?
I think it was like 800 plus.
Okay, that's not
Not a
great.
bad, but considering what was going on, I'm not saying, if he had a better throwing quarterback, I would be like, yeah, I'm disappointed in that. But that wasn't the case. You know what I mean? I think I'm just
Bro,
saying he made the best
that guy could be a
of what he
12
could.
to 1400 yard receiver every year. He
Mhm.
could.
Yeah,
That's how good he
I
is.
agree.
But
Hit
I'm
me
gonna give
with
you my
your
counterfeit green this week,
hit me with it.
and I should have gave it last week because I was really pissed off about it last week, but I'm even more mad about it this week. My counterfeit greenness is how much stock beat writers and reporters put into practice. How much stock beat writers and reporters put into joint practices, especially Elliott Troll Parks, giving the Eagles a record in practice. They're 6-1 in joint practices. Bro, we're really doing that? You're seeing vanilla offense, vanilla defense. You're seeing basic bullshit from both teams, and you're giving the Eagles a record on that. You wait to see when the NFL season starts, when you have teams cover zero blitz and Jalen Hurts and not letting him get out of the pocket and making him beat us with his arm. Because I promise you, that's what they're going to do.
Listen,
That's my
that's a
counterfeit
strong
green this
counterfeit
week.
green. That's a strong counterfeit green, and we're gonna end on that. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So thanks for tuning in this week, folks. We got through a whole show without me pulling a Houdini. Woo! And that was a first, we got that fixed. And thanks for tuning in. And we are eagerly anticipating the regular season so we could really talk some football, because I can tell you, me and Gene will talk before the show and be like, what are we going to talk about? Like, we have stuff to talk about, but it's just like, man, preseason is like, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And
Oh,
that's
it's
why,
terrible. It's terrible.
yeah,
I'm telling you right now, it's almost. I love football more than anybody you'll ever meet, but it's almost unwatchable.
yeah, maybe that's my counterfeit green, preseason in general.
Yeah,
So,
period. It's a very good one.
yeah,
The NFL and the
preseason.
NFLPA, it completely is watered down the preseason football. It's absolutely a joke. It's laughable at this point.
Yeah, why? Let's just have fucking meet and greets, in the preseason. Hey, what's up? Sign a few autographs. Oh, we ran a few routes and we're done. Don't even dust the pads off to the regular season, for the love of God. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, folks. We will be back next week. Thanks for hanging with us. We will take things birds deep as usual, and we are on the precipice or the doorstep of the season, and we will ride there with you. And this is the Godfrey and Gene, not saying goodbye, but just saying take it birds deep. Gene, you still there?
Yes, sir.
That was much
I
better
am
this week. Do you
proud.
agree?
I am proud. Listen to me.